Alright, on this video we're going to be actually graphing and practicing these, which there's 1 through 16. You need to make sure you do these. This will be counted as part of your homework. So you'll need to do these graphs and then 1 through 16 on the homework. In Google Classroom, this will actually just say 5.2 notes part 2, but this is also part of your assignment. So we'll start off with an easier one, and then we'll do 2 that are more difficult. So what you're doing is you're given a function. Your job is to graph the function. So you'll notice on each of these you get an XY table, and for the x values, you have to plug in each x value to find a y value. Then you graph the ordered pair, and that's essentially all you have to do. So this is actually called graph by tally. This is part of graphing that you'll need to know moving forward. But then in the next section, we'll look at a harder or an easier way to graph these. But for now, we're going to do it like this. So y equals x plus 6. If x is negative 1, that means that for the y value, we're going to plug in negative 1 in for x. So it would be negative 1 plus 6, which is going to be 5. Then for the next x coordinate, we have 0. If x is 0, that means that y is 0 plus 6, and that means that y is 6. For the last two, we would have 2 equal x and 4 equal x. That would give us, let's see, 2 plus 6, so that's going to be 8. And then that would also give us 4 plus 6, so that's going to be 10. So now we have to graph each of these points. So negative 1, 5, remember, always start out with the x value. So that's going to either move left or right. If it moves to the right, it's positive. If it moves to the left, it's negative. So negative 1 would be 1 unit over to the left. With the y coordinate, those will move up or down. If it is a positive, it moves up. If it's a negative, it moves down. So if we go to 5, we would go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we would plot our point right here. 0, 6 would not move right or left. It would just stay at 0, and it would go up to 6 on the y-axis. 2, 8 would go over to the right 2 units and up 8 units, which will be all the way to the top here. And then we actually really can't graph 4, 10. It probably won't fit. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, this only goes up to 8. So you could either go above and make another point, or you can just go ahead and draw a straight line through your points, and there's your line. So that one's pretty easy to plug in. Your x values because there's no coefficient to multiply by and no fraction. So that one's pretty easy. So we'll go to number 7, which looks a little bit harder, but it's actually not too hard. Here you have y equals x over 2 plus 7. Just remember, when you plug in your x values, we always have to deal with the dividing or multiplying before adding and subtracting. So like for the first x value, it's negative 8. This would be, it would look like this. Y is going to equal, instead of x, we're going to plug in negative 8, divide that by 2, and then add 7 to that. So it would actually be negative 4 plus 7, which is going to give us a positive 3. So for the first ordered pair, x is negative 8. When x is negative 8, y is 3. All right, so let's do this all over again. Now we're going to use negative 6. So here we'll have negative 6 divided by 2 plus 7, which is going to give us negative 3 plus 7, which is 4 for the y coordinate. Then we're going to do this all over again, except now we're plugging in negative 2. So negative 2 is our x value, which means we have y is equal to negative 2 over 2 plus 7. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1 plus 7 is going to give us 6. And then the last one is 0. 0 plugged in for x would look like this. It'd be 0 divided by 2. Anytime you divide 0 by anything, it's always just going to be 0. So it would actually just give us 7 left. So 0, 7 would be the last ordered pair. So now we need to graph each of these. So start off on the x-axis, which moves left to right. This is a negative 8 for x, so we're going to move to the left 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we'll go up 3 because that's our y-coordinate, and y's always move either up or down. If it's positive, it moves up. So 1, 2, 3. There's our first point. Negative 6, 4 would be over to negative 6 and up to 4. So it would be right here. Negative 2, 6 would be over to negative 2, up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the last one is 0, 7. Since 0 is our x-coordinate, we don't move left or right. We just stay at 0, and we move up to 7 on the y-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right here. And then you draw a straight line through your points. And that is your straight line. So there's number 7. Don't get thrown off by the x over 2. You're just dividing. If you see number 8, don't get thrown off by negative 1 over 4. Remember that when you plug in your x value, you're multiplying by a fraction. So you can either divide across your diagonals or multiply your whole number to the top and divide by the denominator. So the last one we'll do is 15, just because I know this 5 over 2 will make you freak out. But once again, when we plug in our x values here, all we really care about is where we're plugging in our x values. Just make sure to remember that you're multiplying. Now, on the back part of this, you're not given x values, but if I were you, I would just start with 0 and go to like 0, 1, 2, 3, and I think they should all work out. But you could also skip a step too. So let's see. I'll go ahead and give you these. These will be 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Those would be the best one to use. And I may go ahead and give you those just to make sure that you do all of these correctly. But I'll update that in Google Classroom for how I want you to do these. All right, so we can still do this one. We have 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So if we want to graph this, we need to first plug in 0 for x, which would look like this. Y equals 5 over 2. Now, 5 over 2x is actually 5 over 2 times x, so plugging in a 0 for x would just mean we're multiplying our first 5 over 2 fraction by 0 minus 8. 5 over 2 times 0 is just going to be 0 minus 8 is negative 8. So then we'll do this whole process again, except now we're going to plug in 5 over 2, and we're going to plug in 2 for x. So it'd be 5 over 2 times 2 minus 8. If you divide across your diagonal, you'll actually cancel out 2 divided by 2 because that's 1. So you're left with 5 minus 8, which is negative 3. All right, now we'll do this all over again. And now we'll have 4. So if we do 5 over 2 times 4 minus 8, we can divide across the diagonal. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we actually have 5 times 2 minus 8, which will give us 10 minus 8, which is 2. Then the last 2 is 6 and 8. So we'll do those doing the same exact thing. So 5 over 2. Now we're plugging in a 6, and we can divide across the diagonal here. 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3, so we'll actually have 5 times 3. So 5 times 3 minus 8 is going to be 15 minus 8, which is 7. And then the last one is going to be plugging in 8 for x. So if we go ahead and do that, we'll have 5 over 2 times 8, which if we divide across the diagonal, 8 divided by 2 is going to give us 4. So 4 times 5 minus 8, and that's going to give us 20 minus 8, which is 12. So now all we need to do is graph all these points, and we will be finished. All right. So on 15, we have 0, negative 8. So that's going to start off not moving right or left, and it's going to go down to negative 8. So that would be all the way down here. All right. 2, negative 3 would start out going to the right 2, then going down 3. So our next point would be here. 4, 2 would be over to 4 on the y or the x-axis and down 2. Which that doesn't look right. Let me make sure. Oh, I should go up 2. Okay, that should look better. 1, 2, 3, 4, then up 2. Yes. All right. Then 6, 7 will be over to 6 and up to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, now 6 or 8, 12 won't fit, so let's just go ahead and make our straight line through these 4 points. And that will be our linear equation graphed, which will be a straight line. I think for the rest of the problems 9 through 16, I'll make sure that when this is uploaded, you have all the x values. That way you don't have to plug in a bunch of weird stuff because you'll end up with fractions and it's not fun graphing the fractions. So on all these, you'll have the x values. So just make sure you're looking at the correct homework that's uploaded.